33 of my relatives are coming, Raymond. You'll cook, serve, clean, and sleep in the garage. Lauren shoved a black apron across the dining table. Its metal clasp struck the stem of a wineglass with a sharp little ping. The fabric scraped my knuckles when I caught it. Cinnamon from the mulled cider hung over the heavier smell of roasting fat, and beneath both sat the sour bite of industrial cleanser from the kitchen floor. My son laughed. "Dad likes feeling useful," Brandon said. "Don't you, Dad?" At 58, after nearly 30 years of running Hawthorne Ridge Lodge, I had cleaned worse things than their contempt from a room. I folded the apron once and laid it beside my hand. "What time do you want the dining room ready?" I asked Lauren. Her smile widened. She had expected an argument. Tiffany's phone was already pointed at me. 6, Lauren said. "And don't make us chase you. My family came to celebrate, not manage you." Brandon lifted his wine. "See? Easy." I looked at the clock above the stone fireplace. 3:12. Plenty of time. Lauren's rings clicked against the table as she held out her hand. "The master key. That key stays with the owner," I said. "For now," she replied. "But you don't need the office, the wine room, or the side entrance tonight. You need the kitchen and the service garage." Brandon's laugh had disappeared. His palm rested flat beside his glass, the way it did when he wanted everyone to believe a decision had already been made. "Don't make this emotional, Dad," he said. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the brass key Evelyn had carried for 26 years. The bow was smooth from her thumb. One edge held a half-moon notch from the winter she dropped it into an ice machine, and Caleb had to fish it out with kitchen tongs. Lauren curled her fingers around it, but I held on for one extra second. Her perfume was too sweet up close. "Let go," she said softly. I did. She passed the key to Brandon without looking at it. A paper card slipped from my wallet when I returned it to my pocket and landed near Tiffany's phone. Lauren picked it up first. "Green Mountain Geriatric Clinic," she read. Then she raised the card toward the camera. "Another memory appointment?" Tiffany gave a small laugh from behind her phone. I took the card from Lauren. "It was on my calendar." "Of course it was," she said. Brandon leaned toward me. "We're trying to make tonight simple. You keep turning simple things into statements." I slid the appointment card back into my wallet. "Metal doesn't make statements, Brandon. The person holding it does." His fingers closed around Evelyn's key. Lauren pushed a printed room list toward me. 17 guest rooms had names written beside them. Her parents, Victor and Diane Hale, had been assigned the owner's suite. I ran my finger down the page. "Where are the Matthews family?" "Moved. They booked in March. They got refunded," Lauren said. "Christmas is for family." "Whose family?" She tilted her head. "That question is why you're sleeping in the garage." Nora stood near the reception desk with a stack of key envelopes pressed against her chest. Her mouth opened, but Lauren raised one finger without turning around. "You can go when the rooms are set," Lauren told her. "Everyone can. Raymond will cover the rest." Nora looked at me. Just once. Then her eyes moved toward the cardboard box beside the stairs. Evelyn's photograph lay on top of broken ornaments and an extension cord. It was the picture from our 30th anniversary. She had been laughing at something outside the frame. "Why is that there?" I asked. Lauren glanced at the box. "My mother doesn't need a dead woman watching her sleep." The room went quiet enough for me to hear the kitchen exhaust fan turning behind the wall. Brandon rubbed his thumb over the brass key. "It's just a picture, Dad." I picked up the frame. A fresh scratch ran across one corner. "It was hanging in my room this morning," I said. "And tonight the room has guests," Lauren replied. "Try to keep up." I carried the photograph to the small office off the dining room. The lock was already open. Brandon had beaten me there. Inside, I placed Evelyn's picture face up on the desk, then took a cream envelope from the inner pocket of my jacket. It resisted when I bent it. The originals were nowhere near Hawthorne Ridge. I returned to the dining room and set the envelope beneath the center candle. Lauren's eyes fixed on it. "What's that?" "A Christmas delivery." "For whom?" I turned the envelope so she could read the words written across the front. "Open at midnight." Brandon reached for it. Lauren caught his wrist. "No, we'll open it with everyone here." He stared at her hand, then at the envelope. "It could be private." "Not in this family," she said. I checked the clock again. 3:28. "Perfect," I whispered. Lauren heard me. Her smile thinned. "What did you say?" I said the candle is too close to the paper. I moved the envelope 2 inches to the left. The first car arrived before Lauren could answer. Tires crunched over packed snow outside, followed by a horn and the slam of several doors. Victor Hale entered with cold air at his back, and a framed document held against his chest. "There he is," Victor called when he saw me. "The man of the hour." His coat smelled of cigar smoke and damp wool. He gripped my shoulder hard enough to bunch my shirt beneath the apron. "Lauren says we make it official tonight," he said. "Official?" I asked. Victor turned the frame around. Inside was a cream certificate edged in gold. Hawthorne Family Ownership Series. The serial number sat near the bottom. HFR 714. "My piece of the mountain," Victor said. "Cost me enough." Lauren appeared beside him so quickly her heel struck the chair leg. "Daddy, drinks are in the lounge." Victor tapped the glass over the certificate. "After midnight, you'll have to call me partner." "I'll remember the number," I said. More relatives filled the lobby. Suitcases rolled over slate. Tiffany kept filming while Lauren assigned rooms she had no right to give away. Gavin Lowe came in carrying a leather tube. He shook snow from his shoulders, opened the tube, and pulled out another framed certificate. "Victor," Gavin said, "we finally own something together." They held the papers side by side. For half a second, both serial numbers faced me. HFR 714. Lauren stepped between them and hooked one arm through Gavin's. "The family series uses matching batch numbers. I explained that in the packet." Victor frowned. "You said every unit was unique." "Every ownership interest is unique," Lauren replied. "The series number tracks the release. Come have that bourbon you like." She moved them toward the lounge before either man could compare another line. Brandon stood near the office door. The brass key had vanished into his pocket. He waited until Lauren was surrounded by relatives, then pressed a thick blue folder against my chest. "Sign before dinner," he said. The folder smelled of fresh toner. Its pages were still warm near the binding. "What is it?" I asked. "Retirement paperwork." "You brought retirement paperwork to a Christmas party?" Brandon lowered his voice. "I brought a clean ending. That's more than most fathers get." I opened the folder. The first pages transferred daily control to him and Lauren. Another page waived claims connected to payroll changes. Near the back, my name appeared in a signature box. It looked almost right. Almost. The final stroke was too straight. Evelyn used to tease me because my signature always curved upward, even on bad news. "Who prepared this?" I asked. "Lauren's attorney." Brandon paused. "Our attorney. I haven't signed it. You agreed to step back." "When?" His jaw shifted. "Months ago." I closed the folder. "Then another hour won't hurt." Brandon moved closer. Bourbon sharpened his breath. "There won't be an after dinner unless you sign." Behind him, Lauren called for me to carry luggage upstairs. I opened the folder again and turned to the last page. Beneath the false signature, a line in smaller print transferred control of the operating accounts to Brandon at midnight. When I raised my head, my son was standing in the kitchen doorway. Evelyn's brass master key hung from one hand. My electronic management fob hung from the other. Brandon closed his fingers around both keys. "You don't need these tonight," he said. The brass master key struck the plastic fob with a dull click. One belonged to doors Evelyn and I had opened for decades. The other belonged to the system Brandon had installed when he said metal keys made us look old. "Put the folder in my office," I said. My son tucked the retirement papers under his arm. "That office is part of the transition. Then transition it after dinner." Lauren's voice carried from the lobby. "Raymond, the Lows need help with their bags." Brandon stepped aside, but not far enough to let me pass without brushing his shoulder. Bourbon and peppermint clung to his breath. "Don't embarrass yourself tonight," he murmured. I took the blue folder from him before he could stop me and set it on the pantry shelf. That advice used to be free. Another horn sounded outside. Then another. By 4 o'clock, rolling suitcases, gift boxes, and wet boots filled the lobby. Lauren stood behind the reception desk, calling room numbers as if she had built every wall herself. "Victor and Diane, owner's suite," Lauren announced. "Tiffany, room 12. Gavin and Melissa, room 14. The Carters have 19 and 20 because the kids need space." Nora held 6 displaced reservation cards in one hand. Her thumb kept rubbing the corner of the top card. Those rooms were blocked for paying guests, Nora said. The Matthews family is already driving from Albany. Lauren didn't look at her. They were refunded. They booked in March, Nora replied. And now they've learned to plan Christmas somewhere else. Lauren pointed toward the key envelopes. Smile when you hand those out. Victor slapped the reception counter. Midnight, everybody. That's when Lauren makes the family acquisition official. Cheers rolled through the lobby. Tiffany raised her phone, filming the faces around her. I opened the old inventory notebook kept beneath the desk and wrote down every room Lauren assigned, every bottle Nora removed from storage, and every canceled reservation listed on the screen. 17 guest rooms, 1 owner's suite, 6 paying bookings pushed aside. Lauren leaned across the counter. Are you taking notes on Christmas? Inventory doesn't know what day it is. Neither do people who can't let go, she said. A cork popped in the lounge. Someone shouted my name and asked where the good bourbon was. Lauren pointed toward the wine room. Go make yourself useful. The brass key stayed in Brandon's pocket, so Nora used her staff key. I counted 2 reserve bourbons, 4 Pinot Noir, and a case of champagne. Nora wrote each item beside mine. Keep your copy, I told her. Her eyes shifted toward Lauren. She told me to throw the old sheets away. Keep those too. When we returned, Tiffany had knocked over a glass near the fireplace. Red wine spread across the pale stone in a widening fan. Maria was already kneeling beside it, though her coat hung over one arm and her purse sat by the front door. Your shift ended 20 minutes ago, I said. Maria pressed a white towel into the stain. Miss Lauren said it would only take a minute. Lauren stood beside Tiffany's phone, one hand resting on her hip. We all pitch in here, some of us more than others, Maria said. Lauren's mouth tightened. What was that? I took the towel from Maria. The cloth was warm and rough against my palm. Wine soaked through, sticky between my fingers. She said she was leaving. I told Lauren. Then I knelt. A few people laughed. Victor looked down into his drink. Lauren turned toward Tiffany's camera. See? Raymond needs to feel useful. The towel dragged over stone, carrying red wine and fireplace ash. The stain became another red mark on another sheet of paper. 6 weeks earlier, Maria had placed a pay stub on my desk. Her finger had tapped the blank line where gratuities should have been. Maybe the new system lost them, she had said. The door behind her had reflected Lauren's pale coat in the glass. I had closed the pay stub before Lauren entered. Now Lauren nudged the cleaning bucket with the toe of her boot. You missed a spot, she said. I wiped the last line from the grout and stood slowly because Tiffany's camera followed the movement. Maria's leaving, I said. Lauren gave a small shrug. Fine. Raymond can cover her section too. Maria picked up her purse. As she passed me, she pressed 2 fingers against my sleeve. No words. She didn't need them. Victor called from the lounge before the front door shut. Raymond, come settle something. He and Gavin stood beneath the mounted deer head, holding their framed certificates side by side. Lauren was opening a bottle of reserve bourbon behind them. Gavin says his unit gets 2 free weeks, Victor said. Mine says the same thing. Which weeks do I get? I took Gavin's certificate first. Cream paper, gold border, Hawthorne family ownership series across the top. What were you promised? I asked. 2 weeks a year, voting rights, and quarterly profit, Gavin said. Lauren called it a legacy share. Victor tapped his own frame. Same here. Plus priority booking for Christmas. I lowered both certificates until the serial lines met. HFR 714. The same number. Gavin squinted. That can't be right. Lauren arrived with 3 glasses. It's a family series number, not an individual number. You said every unit was unique, Victor replied. Every ownership interest is unique. Lauren pressed a bourbon into his hand. The series identifies the release. Daddy, you signed the packet. Victor looked at the certificate again. I signed what you sent me, and you're about to make money from it. Lauren lifted her glass. Can we enjoy one night without turning it into an audit? Tiffany swung her camera toward the champagne tower. Lauren followed, announcing the bottle cost more than some people's monthly mortgage. The room moved with her. Gavin stayed beside me. Do series numbers work like that? He asked quietly. Not the way your email described them. His glass stopped halfway to his mouth. You saw the email? Not yours. Before he could ask more, Caleb appeared at the service doorway and crooked one finger toward me. The kitchen had thinned out. Steam clouded the windows. Caleb set 2 invoices beside a crate of bargain rib roasts. She billed prime, he said. Delivered choice. Same thing with the salmon, butter, and wine reduction. The invoice stuck to my fingertips. How much difference? Enough to notice. Not enough to notice one dinner at a time. Caleb opened his palm. A black flash drive lay there. Menu cost reports. Owen already copied the originals and locked the export. This is just in case. I didn't take it immediately. Did you plug this into anything here? No. Good. Caleb placed it in my hand. I'm staying until the hotline is stable. Then I'm gone. Maria shouldn't have been on that floor after her shift. She won't be again. A tray rattled behind us. Lauren entered carrying 3 empty champagne bottles. Private meeting? She asked. Food costs, Caleb said. Lauren dropped the bottles into the recycling bin. Glass struck glass. Tonight isn't about costs. That's usually when costs get interesting, Caleb replied. Her smile never reached him. Finish the entrees. Caleb turned back to the stove. Lauren waited until he was out of earshot. You're making the staff nervous. They were nervous before I walked in. Then stop giving them reasons. She pushed a silver tray against my chest. 6 crystal glasses already stood on it. Brandon came through the door carrying 2 unopened bottles. Room for these? He asked. There shouldn't be, I said. He set them on the tray anyway. My wrist pulled under the weight. Cold condensation slid over my thumb. Lauren raised Tiffany's phone. Come on, Raymond. A little challenge keeps you sharp. I carried the tray into the lounge. Crystal chimed. Near Victor, I stopped and offered him a glass. Where did you send the certificate money? I asked. Victor lifted the wine without noticing the question's edge. North Star Guest Experience Consulting. Not Carlisle Hospitality? No. Lauren said North Star handled the family offering. How much did you send? He glanced toward his daughter. The first payment or today's? The tray grew heavier. Today's. 110,000, Victor said. She called this morning. Said it had to clear before midnight or I'd lose my unit. Across the hallway, Lauren stood perfectly still beside the accounting office. Her hand went to the electronic lock. A red light flashed. The bolt clicked shut. The red light flashed again when Lauren pressed her thumb to the accounting office reader. Temporary security update, she said without turning around. Nothing for you to worry about. Victor still held his certificate. Gavin's matching number stayed hidden against his coat. I lowered the tray to a side table. Who updated the security? Brandon handles technical matters. My son had already disappeared. Laughter rose from the lounge, followed by Tiffany telling everyone to gather near the champagne tower. Lauren stepped close enough that her perfume pushed aside the wine on my hands. Serve the room, she said. You can play detective after Christmas. I've never played at work. Tiffany called her name, and Lauren turned on the smile she saved for cameras. I went back to the pantry. The blue retirement folder sat where I'd left it, but someone had bent its lower corner. Fresh fingerprints dulled the cover. My name leaned across the signature line in familiar black ink. The first loop was mine. So was the narrow middle stroke, copied from a vendor contract I had signed years earlier. But the final mark ended straight, chopped off before the upward curve Evelyn used to call my stubborn little tail. Below it, a pale gray line showed the electronic signing record. December 2nd, 10:18 in the morning. The appointment card in my wallet pressed against my ribs. At 10:18 that morning, I had been sitting in Green Mountain Geriatric Clinic while Dr. Sarah Keene asked me to explain the difference between selling Hawthorne Ridge and borrowing against it. Claire had waited across the hall with the invoice in her briefcase. I took a small phone from the flower tin above the pantry sink. Lauren knew about my regular phone. She didn't know Claire had bought this one with cash and loaded only 3 numbers into it. The camera clicked softly. One photograph of the signature. Another of the time record. A third of the page that moved control of the operating accounts to Brandon at midnight. Footsteps stopped outside. I slipped the phone behind linen napkins and turned as Lauren entered. Still reading? She asked. Who sent the package? The attorney. Which attorney? Our attorney. You said you didn't deal with technical paperwork. I don't. Her answer came too fast. Brandon handled the electronic signature. I hadn't mentioned an electronic signature. What electronic signature? I asked. Lauren's eyes shifted toward the folder. Whatever you're pretending is wrong with it. Brandon appeared in the doorway. Dad agreed months ago, he said. This is embarrassing. What day did I agree? October 17th, Brandon replied. Lauren spoke over him. It was September, before Victor's birthday. They looked at each other. Tiffany stood 10 feet away with her phone raised, recording Lauren through the open pantry door. She was too busy framing her sister to notice what she had captured. Brandon recovered first. We discussed it more than once. Then you should have more than one date, I said. A heavy knock rolled through the kitchen wall. Not a tap. A shudder. Caleb shouted from the hot line. Metal pans clattered, and the industrial dishwasher gave a grinding cough. Then water rushed across tile. Lauren pushed past me. Keep cooking. Hot water boiled out beneath the dishwasher, carrying grease and scraps of garnish toward the center drain. Steam climbed around the stainless tables. The sharp smell of scorched plastic cut through the food. Kill the dishwasher, I told Caleb. Lauren grabbed my sleeve. Do not shut down my kitchen. I pulled free and followed the water. It had passed the drain and was spreading toward the wall beside the secondary electrical panel. Caleb, clear the service hall. Nora, keep guests out of this doorway. Brandon lifted his phone. Dad, don't touch anything. I reached the red disconnect switch and cut power only to the dishwashing station and secondary outlets. The fan over the cooking line kept running. Ovens stayed lit. Lauren stared at the dark dishwasher. Dinner is in less than an hour. So is the fire department if that water reaches the panel. A thin crackle came from the wall. I crossed the wet floor along the rubber mat and reached the manual shutoff behind the machine. The valve resisted. Rust bit into my palm through chipped paint. Caleb joined me with a wrench. Counterclockwise, he said. I installed it. Then you know it hates you. Together we forced the wheel around. The pipe banged once. The flow weakened, then collapsed into a steaming sheet. Nora blocked the service hall while two children tried to peer around her. I sent her for absorbent pads from the maintenance closet. Victor came into the kitchen with his bourbon. What happened? A repair request happened 3 months late, Caleb said. Lauren turned on him. Careful. Victor looked from the water to his daughter. You knew about this? It's old plumbing, Lauren replied. Raymond left us a building held together with patches. Caleb pulled off one wet glove. I submitted the replacement request 3 times, July, September, and last week. All 3 were denied. By whom? Victor asked. Caleb looked at Lauren. Her voice dropped. You work for me. Until 5, he said, glancing at the clock. It's 5:14. Lauren stepped closer. Then you don't work here at all. Caleb untied his apron. Water dripped from its hem when he folded it over the prep table. Raymond confirmed the line is isolated, he said. The ovens are safe. The dishwasher stays off. Use the other station. He gave me a long look, then picked up his coat. This is my one trip home, Caleb said. Call if someone's bleeding. The back door shut behind him. Victor's gaze moved to the valve, the dark dishwasher, then Lauren's spotless shoes. You might want to put the phone down, he told Tiffany. She lowered it an inch. I checked the panel for heat, confirmed the affected circuit was dead, and showed Nora which strip of floor had to stay closed. When I turned back, Brandon was gone. The brass master key was gone with him. A narrow window in the kitchen door faced the office hallway. Through it, I saw Brandon slide Evelyn's key into the old lock. He entered my office and left the door barely open. I dried my hands, told Nora to use banquet dishware from upstairs, and walked past the office without slowing. At the end of the hall, I stopped beside a linen cart and looked back through the gap. Brandon pulled open the lower file drawer. He passed over insurance binders, payroll folders, and Evelyn's red notebook. Then he found the folder with the Silver Mountain logo, Northcrest Hospitality Group, a non-binding offer. Expired in August. My son photographed the first page. He never turned to the final sheet where one word had been stamped across the bottom. Expired. His mouth moved as he read the proposed purchase price. Then he slid the folder beneath his sweater. I let him leave. The regular phone in my pocket rang. Lauren's name appeared on the screen. A distraction. I ignored it, returned to the pantry, and retrieved the small phone. Owen answered on the second ring. I have the provider confirmation, he said. The retirement package originated from the company laptop assigned to Brandon. Can you prove he was using it? Not from the device record alone. The login came through the lodge network. We need the hallway camera and access records to place him there. The hallway camera has been moved. A pause. Don't touch it, Owen said. Photograph its position. The vendor may have the previous angle. I looked through the pantry door. Brandon was speaking to Lauren near the locked accounting office. The stolen folder made a square beneath his sweater. What else? I asked. The package was created at 10:12 on December 2nd and sent for signature 6 minutes later. Your account appears as the signer, but the authentication path used a saved credential from the lodge. At 10:18, I was at the clinic. Claire sent the check-in record. Keep your copy separate. Owen hesitated. There's more. Someone scheduled a permission change for tonight. I can't see the full list from the provider snapshot. What time? 11:59. The call ended with Lauren entering the pantry. Dinner service, she said. Now. I put the small phone away and followed her. On the way past my office, I checked the door. The brass lock was open. Inside, the Northcrest folder was gone. A single sheet lay beside Evelyn's photograph. Account access schedule. 3 names appeared in a narrow column. Lauren Carlisle. Brandon Carlisle. Raymond Carlisle. Beside mine, someone had typed 4 words. Disable at 11:59. Brandon came back carrying Victor's framed certificate under one arm and his phone in the other. Tell him, my son said. Victor followed close behind. Lauren and Gavin crowded the office doorway, while Tiffany's camera hovered above her shoulder. Brandon turned his screen toward Victor. A photograph of the Northcrest offer filled it. The company logo sat at the top. The purchase price sat lower down in a number large enough to impress anyone who stopped reading before the final page. He was going to sell Hawthorne Ridge, Brandon said, to a hotel chain. Victor stared at me. You sold our family home? Our family home? I asked. Lauren stepped between us. Don't do that, Raymond. Don't hide behind wording. More relatives gathered in the hall. Their shoes pressed close on the runner. Perfume, bourbon, and roasted garlic drifted out from the dining room, mixing with the dry heat from the wall vent. Brandon raised the phone higher. Northcrest Hospitality offered millions. Dad kept it secret. Where did you get that file? I asked. His thumb covered the bottom edge of the photograph. That isn't the issue. It becomes the issue when you remove company records from my office. Lauren gave a thin laugh. You mean the office you locked everyone out of while you planned to sell the place from under us? Victor's certificate creaked inside its frame. My money is in this lodge. No, I said. Your money went to North Star. A few voices dropped behind him. Lauren turned toward the group. Raymond has been moving papers around for weeks. Now we know why. He wants to hand Evelyn's life's work to strangers and leave the rest of us with nothing. Tiffany kept filming. Did Northcrest make an offer? Brandon asked. They did. Victor slapped the certificate against his thigh. There. You hear that? The room tightened around me. Nobody asked whether I accepted it. Nobody asked when it was made. Lauren had given them a villain, and my silence fit the costume. Sign the retirement package, she said. Give Brandon authority to stop the sale. A person without ownership can't stop a transaction by shouting at it. Her cheeks changed first. A pale patch appeared beside her nose. Victor pointed at me. You've become selfish. Tiffany's phone moved from his face to mine. I picked up the tray of empty glasses from the hall table. Dinner is cooling. That answer angered them more than a denial would have. Lauren followed me into the dining room. You're not walking away from this. I'm carrying 6 glasses. Put them down. A candle hissed as wine dripped near its wick. I set the tray on the sideboard and lifted the cream envelope from beneath the centerpiece. Its edge was warm from the candle. Lauren watched my hand. Is that the sale contract? No. Then open it. It says midnight. This is my house too. You have a job here. Her mouth opened, but a cousin called for more champagne. I moved past her before she found the right lie. In the pantry, a silver serving tray leaned crooked on the floor. Someone had shoved Evelyn's red notebook beneath one corner to stop it from rocking. I pulled it free. The cover had softened at the edges. A small grease mark darkened the spine. Evelyn used to carry it from the front desk to the laundry room, writing down birthdays, sick children, broken cars, and the little debts people never ask us to repay. The page fell open to Maria Delgado. Started April 1999. Stayed overnight during the flood. Covered Evelyn's shifts through chemotherapy. Below Maria's name were Caleb and Nora, years of service. Notes in Evelyn's narrow handwriting. Things Brandon had once known. A memory came with the smell of cloves from the dining room. Evelyn had sat at this same pantry table after the roof leaked over room 8. Maria held a bucket beneath the drip while Caleb climbed into the attic. A roof doesn't belong to the name on the deed, Evelyn had told me. It belongs to the people who know where to put the buckets. Weeks ago, I had placed the red notebook on Claire's desk. Not as a contract, not as proof. As an answer to one question: who had earned the chance to keep Hawthorne Ridge standing? The kitchen door opened. Maria stepped inside, breathing hard from the cold. Snowmelt darkened the shoulders of her coat. "I left my blood pressure pills in my locker," she said loudly. Then she closed the door. Her voice dropped. "Everyone is ready. Lauren found out there's a closing at 12:01. Does she know who?" "No." Maria looked toward the dining room. Cutlery scraped against china beyond the wall. "We can come back now." "Not yet. She made you kneel on the floor. The ownership changes after midnight. And until then, she gets to treat you like this? Until then, she still manages the lodge." Maria folded both hands around her purse strap. "How long are you going to protect Brandon?" The exhaust fan hummed overhead. "I'm protecting the closing." "That wasn't my question." I closed Evelyn's notebook. "Get your pills. Use the back stairs." Maria held my gaze another second, then opened her locker. Before leaving, she touched the red cover with one finger. Evelyn wrote down who showed up. "Yes, make sure you do too." The back door shut softly behind her. Brandon waited in the wine room. Cold air rolled from the cooling unit when I entered. Bottles rested in wooden racks from floor to ceiling. He stood beside the reserve shelf with the Northcrest folder tucked under his arm. "You made me look like a thief," he said. "You took a file from my office. You hid a sale from your son. It was an offer. You always do that." His voice bounced off the stone walls. One careful word, and suddenly everyone else is stupid. I reached for a bottle of Cabernet. Brandon blocked the shelf. "Mom dies, and you bury yourself in this place. I ask what happens next, and you give me schedules. Lauren asks for authority, and you make her beg. You love this lodge more than you ever loved me." The cooling unit clicked off. Silence pressed against the glass. "I used work to avoid talking about your mother," I said. "That was wrong." His shoulders loosened. "Just a fraction." "Then fix it," Brandon replied. "Sign the papers." There it was. Not grief. A door he wanted opened. "If this is about being loved," I said, "why do you need my payroll password?" His face held still too long. "I don't. The provider record says otherwise. You've been spying on me. I've been reading my own company records." Brandon shifted the folder beneath his arm. "Lauren was right. You're not well. What did you change at 11:59? Nothing moved except the pulse near his jaw. Then his phone rang. Lauren's name lit the screen. He answered without looking away from me. "We have less than 3 hours," she said through the speaker. "Bring the folder, and bring his phone." Brandon ended the call. "I'm not your enemy, Dad." "Then stop standing where my enemies stand." He left with the Northcrest offer. When I returned to the dining room, Lauren was waiting beside my chair. The retirement package lay across the plate, and a pen rested on top. "My phone," she said. "You have one. Yours." "Why?" "You're tired. You shut down half the kitchen, accused your son, and wandered off during service. I'm helping." 33 relatives watched from beneath the chandelier. I set my regular phone on the table. Lauren picked it up. The screen lit before her fingers closed around it. A notification from Claire appeared across the top. "Closing remains effective at 12:01. Lauren read the line twice. Her thumb swiped down, but the phone required my passcode. "Who is Claire?" she asked. "My attorney." "What closing?" I lifted the wine bottle. "You wanted dinner served." Lauren carried the phone to Brandon. They spoke near the owner's office, too quietly for the table to hear. Tiffany kept filming the guests, unaware that her camera caught both of them in the background. Brandon looked at the clock. 9:14. Lauren locked the owner's office behind them. A minute later, my management account sent an alert to the phone she was holding. Password changed. Through the closed door, her voice rose just enough to reach me. "If he won't sign before midnight, we'll make sure there's nothing left to transfer." The owner's office door opened, and Lauren stepped out holding my regular phone like it belonged to her. "Dinner first," she said. "Questions later." Brandon followed with the blue retirement folder under one arm. My electronic fob hung from 2 fingers. "Your account has been restricted," my son said. "Temporary precaution." The dining room rang with silverware and 33 overlapping conversations. Candle wax softened along the centerpieces. Roast beef, cloves, and spilled Cabernet thickened the air, while the skin beneath my apron stayed damp from the kitchen leak. I walked to the inventory terminal beside the service station and entered my password. Access denied. A second attempt produced the same message. Lauren leaned against the doorframe. "You shut down electrical service without authorization. We can't have confused decisions affecting guests." I isolated one wet circuit. "You scared everyone." Victor called from the head table. "She's protecting the investment, Raymond." Nora passed behind me carrying plates. Her elbow brushed mine, and a folded order ticket slipped beneath my hand. "Staff accounts revoked. Booking console locked. Don't use lodge Wi-Fi." I fed the paper into the waste bin beneath a coffee filter. Lauren pointed toward the kitchen doors. "You're standing where the servers need to work. Nora is the front desk manager. Tonight she carries plates." Nora's jaw shifted, but she kept moving. A place had been set for me near the end of the table. Lauren lifted the chair and moved it against the wall beside the kitchen entrance. "You won't be sitting," she said. "We need someone close to service." Brandon placed the retirement folder on the empty plate, then balanced a pen across it. "Sign between courses," he said. "No pressure." Victor rose with a champagne flute. His certificate stood framed behind his plate. "To new ownership," he announced. "To Lauren and Brandon bringing Hawthorne Ridge into the future. And to all of us who bought in before midnight." Glasses lifted, Lauren touched her flute to Brandon's. "After tonight, Raymond can rest. The garage is heated, so he can stay there as long as he likes." Laughter moved down the table. I poured wine for Diane Hale. The bottleneck tapped her glass once. She glanced at the folder on my plate. "You should sign, Raymond. Holding on too long makes people remember the wrong things about you." "Such us?" Needing to be needed. I filled her glass and moved on. Under the apron, the small phone vibrated against my ribs. Once. Twice. Owen. I finished the side of the table, set the bottle in its cradle, and entered the pantry with an empty breadbasket. The door swung shut, cutting the voices to a low roar. Owen answered before the first ring finished. "Don't say names," he said. "Are you alone?" "For the moment. A transfer is scheduled from the lodge operating reserve to North Star. Same bank, internal book transfer. $185,000. Settlement time is 11:55 tonight." The pantry refrigerator hummed beside me. A loose compressor panel rattled every few seconds. Who created it? The bank alert ties the request to Brandon's treasury profile. I can't see the authentication record until the bank releases it. How much remains if it settles? Enough to open tomorrow. Not enough to cover payroll, refunds, and emergency repairs without your money going back in. Wicker pressed a ladder of red marks into my palm. Can the bank stop it? It's already in review. The fraud rule you authorized caught the beneficiary and amount. They need you to state the transfer is not approved. If I do, Brandon gets notified. Yes. And Lauren knows someone still has access. She'll know somebody is watching. She won't know what we preserved. The pantry door moved half an inch, then stopped. A shadow crossed the gap. I raised my voice. "We're out of dinner rolls." The shadow disappeared. Owen continued, quieter. "There's a second pending item. $74,000 to an account ending in 4182. The bank hasn't confirmed the owner. Hold both. I need your exact words. I do not authorize either transfer. Tell the bank to maintain the fraud hold and preserve every related record. I'll document the time." A message appeared while he spoke. "Claire, closing remains valid. Call me before any signature." I called her next. "The sale documents are signed and escrowed," Claire said. "Lauren cannot cancel the closing by draining an account, but the employee company would inherit the damage. Payroll is the target. It appears so. If the bank hold alerts Brandon, he may go after the local system. Then let the vendor controls do their work. Do not touch the server, take hardware, or sign anything." The pantry door opened. Lauren stood there with my regular phone in one hand and the serving bell in the other. "Your guests are waiting," she said. They're your guests. They're about to be your witnesses. The bell rang inches from my face. I returned to the dining room carrying soup bowls. Hot porcelain pressed through the folded towel beneath my fingers. Brandon watched me while pretending to listen to Victor. His phone lit. He read the notification, then looked directly at me. Not at Lauren. At me. A drop of soup slid over the rim and burned my thumb. Brandon stood so quickly his chair struck the wall. "Did you contact the bank?" he asked. Victor lowered his glass. "What bank?" Lauren's gaze moved from Brandon to me. "Raymond has been interfering with company accounts. I can't access the inventory screen," I said. "You made sure of that." "That isn't an answer," Brandon replied. "No, it's a fact." Lauren stepped beside him. "He's jealous because we succeeded without him. Now he's trying to freeze family money on Christmas Eve." Gavin lifted his certificate. "My money?" Victor pushed away from the table. "You told me it cleared." "It did," Lauren said. "This is a separate operating matter." "What operating matter?" Diane asked. Brandon's phone vibrated again. He read the second alert, and the color beneath his eyes changed. 2 transfers. He slipped the phone into his pocket too late. "Is there another one?" I asked. Lauren turned on him. "Another what?" Brandon's answer came through his teeth. "Not here." Tiffany's camera moved toward them. Lauren raised both hands. "Everyone, please. Raymond is upset about the transition. He contacted the bank and made a routine payment look suspicious. Routine payments don't empty payroll reserve before midnight," I said. A fork dropped near the middle of the table. Victor looked at Lauren. "North Star is your company. It provides services," she replied. "What services?" Gavin asked. "Brand development, guest strategy, family experience, consulting." Nora stopped beside the service station. Her tray remained level, but one knuckle had turned white. I walked to my place and opened the retirement folder. Lauren's voice sharpened. "You don't need to read that aloud. Then it shouldn't mind being heard." The new version had 3 added pages. One clause stated that North Star had delivered all contracted services. Another released its owners and managers from past claims. A third confirmed that all transfers from Carlisle Hospitality had been authorized. I read the sentence slowly. Victor's face tightened. "That's the same company that took my certificate money." Lauren reached across the table and pulled the folder from my hands. "It received your investment because the ownership program required separate administration," she said. "Then why does Raymond have to forgive it?" Gavin asked. "That isn't what the language means." "It says release," Victor replied. "I know that word." Brandon seized my elbow and pulled me into the hall. His fingers dug through the apron. "Let go," I said. He released me after the dining room door swung closed. "You want to destroy everything because Mom died and you can't stand that life moved on," he whispered. "Life moved on. Money moved somewhere else." His mouth flattened. "Sign the package," Brandon said. "Lauren cancels the transfer. You keep a small room in the owner's wing, and we tell everyone this was a misunderstanding. The transfer is already held. You think that saves anyone? It saves $185,000. For tonight." He leaned close enough that bourbon cut through the mint on his breath. "Tomorrow, vendors call. Refunds hit. Payroll lands. The new company you're so proud of starts with nothing." He knew, not guessed. Knew. Through the narrow window in the dining room door, Lauren stood at the far end of the hall, watching us with my phone pressed against her chest. Brandon followed my eyes, then lowered his voice. "Sign it," my son said. "Or every employee you think you're saving wakes up without a paycheck." A warning buzzer cut through Brandon's threat. 3 short bursts came from the kitchen, followed by Nora shouting my name. I pushed through the dining room doors. Heat rolled off the serving line, but a different chill met me near the rear hall. The display above the cold room blinked amber, 41 degrees, then 42. The compressor made a grinding sound and stopped. Lauren entered behind me. "What now?" "The auxiliary circuit is overloaded," I said. "Then turn something else off." That is what overloaded means. Brandon came in rubbing the shoulder I had brushed. "The generator handles emergencies, not unless someone transfers the load." He looked toward the electrical room. His silence answered first. A hot dust smell drifted from the service corridor. Nora opened the cold room, and damp air spilled over my shoes. Trays of beef, cream sauce, butter, and desserts filled the racks. "How long?" Nora asked. "Not long enough to argue." Lauren stepped between us. Nobody tells the guests. We are not turning Christmas into another maintenance performance. A small pop sounded behind the wall. Victor appeared at the kitchen door with Gavin and Tiffany. Was that electrical? It is under control, Lauren said. It will be, I replied, when everyone leaves this corridor. Brandon folded his arms. Dad, do not start ordering people around. I pointed toward the transfer panel. Show me the generator switch. His gaze stopped at the wrong cabinet, Victor noticed. Brandon, where is it? My staff handles physical systems. Your staff went home, Nora replied. Another warning tone sounded. The display reached 43. I sent Nora for insulated carts and asked Gavin to clear the rear hall. Victor took off his jacket. What can I carry? He asked. Desserts first. Dairy after that. Keep the doors closed. Lauren caught his sleeve. Daddy, you are a guest. Victor removed her hand. Tonight, apparently. So is the man who knows where the electricity goes. The generator sat beyond the service garage. Its battery had been tested the week before, but the lodge load still had to be divided. I used the old kitchen service key beside the pantry to open the utility panel, then checked the labels by flashlight. Cold metal pressed into my fingers. Somewhere above us, guests kept laughing, unaware that one wrong switch could drop the dining room into darkness and send the cold room temperature climbing faster. Dishwasher isolated, guest wing stable, cold room circuit faulted, emergency receptacles available. I switched refrigeration to the backup line, waited for the generator to settle, then brought the compressor on alone. The motor coughed twice, then it caught. A deep vibration traveled through the concrete into my shoes. The display held at 44 before dropping. Do not reconnect the dishwasher, I told Nora. Keep the hotline separate. Tiffany stood near the door with her phone aimed at me. Lauren saw her. Stop filming. It is already live, Tiffany said. Dalateit. People are watching. Lauren reached for the phone. Comments climbed beneath the video. That older man saved the whole dinner. Why is he wearing the apron if he owns the place? The son looks lost. Lauren's voice thinned. Take it down. Tiffany lowered the phone but did not touch the screen. It has been shared. Victor looked at Brandon. What exactly do you run here? My son reached for a wine glass and knocked it sideways. Red wine spread beneath his hand. I run the business, Brandon said. Dad knows old pipes and switches. Old pipes kept your dinner from smelling like spoiled cream, Gavin replied. Nobody laughed with Brandon. The back door opened. Maria entered carrying a ring of service keys and one folded page inside a clear sleeve. Snow clung to her cuffs. I brought the spare kitchen key, Maria said. Raymond may need it if management keeps locking doors. Lauren stared at her. You were told to leave. I did. Then the cold room alarm reached my phone because nobody removed me from the safety list. Maria gave me the key, then pressed the sleeved paper into my palm. All signatures are complete, she said quietly. Everyone is waiting at Miller's Cafe. Caleb is there. Did Owen verify this? Header, server copy, and account history. The printed email felt heavier than one page should. Lauren moved closer. What is that? A message. From whom? Someone who still had access before you locked the doors. Her eyes moved to Brandon. I folded the page and slipped it inside Evelyn's red notebook. The display dropped to 41. Brandon, I said. Office annex. He glanced at Lauren. Now, the annex had once been a coat room. Claire used it during closing preparation because it had no networked computer and only one door. A metal cabinet stood beneath the window. Brandon entered behind me. I set Evelyn's notebook on the table and placed the printed email face down. You have one chance to speak before I turn that over, I said. My son looked at the page. Speak about what? Payroll. Lauren managed vendor payments. That was not my question. I signed routine approvals. Did you know gratuities were missing? The company had a cash problem. Did you know hours were removed? Temporary adjustments. Did you know Maria borrowed money for rent? She could have asked for more shifts. She worked 56 hours that week. Brandon leaned on the table. You want to put every employee's private problem on me? People leave jobs. They miss rent. They make bad choices. I turned the email over. Take it from payroll. Dad never checks. Below the line sat Brandon's name, company address, server time, and Owen's verification. My son read it without touching the paper. That was temporary, he said. You wrote it. I was moving cash between accounts. You were taking money people had earned. It was going back. When? After the certificate money cleared. The room seemed smaller. How many employees left because their checks were short? I asked. 2, maybe 3. Phew. Then they found other work. There it was, a calculation. Maria stayed with your mother through chemotherapy, I said. Caleb slept in the kitchen during the flood. Nora brought you homework when you broke your leg. Brandon tapped the email. And they were paid. Not for everything they gave us. That is your problem. You turn employment into family, then act betrayed when business needs something different. His tone was the same one he used when rejecting a vendor bid. Flat, clean. Nothing left on the table but numbers. For years, I had blamed Lauren for sanding away whatever kindness remained in him. The page between us made that excuse impossible. I closed the notebook. Come into the dining room, I said. Tell them North Star received Victor's money. Tell the staff what happened to payroll. Stop Lauren from turning the envelope into a show. What do I get? The question came without hesitation. You get one honest decision. I mean, legally. You tell the truth because it is true. Brandon gave a short breath. You want me to confess in front of 33 people while you walk away as the noble father. I am offering you a chance to stop. With immunity? No. Written protection from the employee company? No. Then you are not offering anything. I am offering what you asked for when you were 15 and broke the kitchen window. His eyes narrowed. A chance to tell me before I found the glass. That was different. It was cheaper. Brandon pulled Evelyn's brass key from his pocket. Before I could move, he crossed to the metal cabinet and locked it. What is in there? I asked. Your copies, payroll reports, certificate lists. He slipped the key away. Now you have an email and a story. The originals are not here. His face changed. Only for a second. Where are they? With people you never bothered to learn the names of. Brandon grabbed the front of my apron. The fabric tightened across my neck. Where? I did not answer. Footsteps passed outside. He released me before the handle turned. Nora opened the door. Raymond, you need to come out. What happened? The envelope is gone. We entered the dining room together. Every chair faced the head of the table. Lauren stood beneath the chandelier, holding the cream envelope above one shoulder. Candlelight showed a small tear along its sealed edge. At midnight, she told the 33 people watching her, we finally find out what Raymond has been hiding from his own family. Lauren held the envelope above the candles as if the sealed paper had already made her owner. The torn corner lifted in the heat. Wax had softened beneath the nearest candle, and the paper smelled faintly of smoke. Around the table, forks stopped scraping. 33 faces turned toward the cream envelope. Then toward me. Lauren lowered it beside her plate. There is still an easier way. Raymond signs the retirement package now, and we avoid an ugly legal spectacle. I rested both hands on the back of my empty chair. Why does the owner need a signature from the man she keeps calling useless? Nobody laughed. Victor's gaze moved from Lauren to the folder. Gavin leaned forward, elbows near his framed certificate. Even Tiffany lowered her phone enough to look over its top edge. Brandon stepped beside his wife. Dad, this is not about ownership. It is about stability. Then explain why stability requires a release for North Star. Lauren's fingers tightened around the envelope. We have already discussed your confusion. No, Victor said. You have discussed around my money. Gavin lifted his certificate from the floor and carried it to Victor's chair. Glass tapped glass when he placed the frames together. Show me your number, Gavin said. Victor turned his certificate toward him. Both men stared. Tiffany rose from the far end of the table. Mine is upstairs. Get it, Victor told her. Lauren pushed back her chair. The serial number identifies the offering series. I explained this. You said each unit was unique, Gavin replied. The rights are unique. Where are they recorded? In the ownership system. Victor held out his hand. Show us. Lauren looked at Brandon. My son reached for his phone. The portal is undergoing a security update. Convenient, Gavin said. Tiffany returned carrying her certificate without its frame. She laid it beside the other two. The same serial number appeared at the bottom. The rights paragraph matched word for word, including 2 annual weeks, quarterly profit, voting privileges, and Christmas priority. Melissa Lowe came around the table with her email open. Mine says Unit 14, she said. Gavin says Unit 14 too. Gavin took her phone. His thumb moved down the screen, then stopped. Same payment instructions. Across the room, two cousins began searching their messages. Chairs scraped. Someone asked Lauren why there had never been a membership meeting. Another voice wanted to know why quarterly statements had not arrived. The family gathering shifted. Shoulders that had faced me now turned toward her. Victor read the page twice. You sold us the same thing. Lauren gave a short laugh. Templates use standard language. Then what did I buy? Tiffany asked. A beneficial interest. In what? Silence answered before Lauren could. I looked down the table. Ask where your money went. Victor pointed at his daughter. North Star Guest Experience Consulting. You told me that company held the funds until the family ownership program closed. That is exactly what it did, Lauren said. Who owns North Star? I asked. Brandon stepped in front of her. This is a lawful tax structure. Dad knows just enough business language to make ordinary planning sound criminal. Gavin folded his arms. Then show us the tax agreement. It is privileged, Brandon replied. Whose privilege? Victor asked. Lauren picked up the envelope again. This is what Raymond wants. He wants everyone fighting so he can sell Hawthorne Ridge to Northcrest. Brandon pulled the stolen folder from beneath his arm and opened it to the photographed offer. Here is the proof. The paper passed from Victor to Gavin. Tiffany leaned over their shoulders. I reached across the table and turned to the last page. A red stamp sat above the signature block. Expired. Victor read the date. August 31st. Brandon took the folder back too quickly. An expired offer can be renewed. Was it? Gavin asked. My son said nothing. Victor faced Lauren. Did you know this was expired when you accused him? Lauren's voice hardened. Raymond planted those certificates. He has access to every printer, every file, every old signature. He wants to discredit me before he hands this place to strangers. Tiffany looked at her own certificate. You emailed mine before Christmas. He could have accessed my account. Then why did I wire the money to your company? Victor asked. Lauren stood so fast her chair struck the wall. Because I was protecting this family from a man who no longer understands what he is doing. Every word landed for the camera. She pointed toward me. He shut down the kitchen. He froze legitimate payments. He wandered through private offices. Now he is waving fake papers around because he cannot accept that Brandon runs this lodge. I have not waived anything, I said. Brandon came around the table. Dad needs somewhere quiet. Do not touch me. His hand closed around my upper arm anyway. Lauren snatched a folded blanket from the window bench and dropped it against my chest. A pillow followed, knocking the apron clasp into my ribs. The garage is heated, she said. You can rest there until midnight. Victor stared at her. Lauren, he is upsetting everyone, she replied. This is for his own good. Then why is Tiffany still filming? I asked. Tiffany's phone remained raised. Lauren did not tell her to stop. Victor rose halfway from his chair. You do not put the man who built this lodge in a garage on Christmas Eve. Lauren lifted her chin. Then he can walk there without a scene. Gavin looked at Brandon. You are really doing this. My son kept his eyes on me. He needs 10 quiet minutes. Until after midnight, Lauren corrected. The room heard her. Brandon guided me through the service corridor. His grip tightened whenever we passed an open doorway, then loosened where the cameras could see. You could end this, he said under his breath. So could you. The corridor smelled of detergent, damp concrete, and the burnt insulation left from the kitchen fault. My shoes squeaked across the rubber mat. At the garage door, Brandon used Evelyn's brass key. The mechanical lock turned with the same rough scrape I had heard for years. He pushed me inside. Cold rose through the concrete floor. Oil, old snow, and metal dust sat heavy in the air. Shelves of tools ran along one wall. The exterior personnel door stood across the garage, its green exit sign lit above it. It opened into the service yard, but my coat was upstairs and the path around the lodge was glazed with ice. A snow shovel leaned beside that door. Its blade was rimmed with frozen grit. I could leave, circle the building, and pound on the front entrance like a guest who had forgotten his key. By then, Brandon could be halfway down the mountain road. The faster route was somewhere inside the walls. Brandon threw the pillow onto a workbench. You stay here until after midnight, he said. You cannot erase what the bank already preserved. His face changed before the interior door slammed. The lock turned from the lodge side. I set the blanket down and listened. Ventilation ducts carried voices from the utility room beyond the wall. Lauren spoke first, her words thin but clear through the metal. I need the old local accounts locked and the export folders cleared before 12, Lauren said. Tell him they may be compromised. A man answered through a speakerphone. I can suspend booking accounts and quarantine local export folders, but I need the emergency admin token and the sealed PIN. Cloud snapshots and provider records stay untouched. Do it, Lauren said. Who has the token? A pose. Brandon is getting it, she replied. Footsteps moved above the garage, then faded toward the loading bay. I crossed to the fireproof cabinet beside the old maintenance manuals. Evelyn had insisted we keep disaster recovery equipment there after a winter outage stranded guests for 2 days. Fresh silver marks cut across the cabinet latch. The key Maria had given me opened the outer utility ring, but not the cabinet. I reached behind the manual shelf and found the spare cabinet key taped where Caleb had left it years ago. The lock clicked. Inside lay the disaster recovery binder, an empty foam slot, and a torn strip from the sealed PIN envelope. No token. At the bottom of the cabinet, a folded note rested beneath a flashlight battery. I opened it. 11:58. Brandon's handwriting. Outside, a vehicle door slammed. An engine turned once, coughed, then caught. Headlights swept beneath the garage door, casting 2 white bars across the concrete. My son had the token, and he was leaving. The engine outside settled into a steady growl. I checked the garage clock. 11:46. 12 minutes, until the time on Brandon's note. 15 until the management change took effect. The exterior personnel door would open. I tested the crash bar and felt the latch release beneath my palm. Beyond it, the service yard curved around the back of the lodge, but ice coated the slope, and Brandon's headlights were already sweeping toward the loading bay. By the time I made that circle in dress shoes, he could be halfway down the mountain. A square metal panel sat behind the old shelving unit. Evelyn used to complain about its hinge because it squealed whenever maintenance checked the boiler lines. It was not a hidden tunnel, just a service access wide enough for a technician, insulated pipes, and someone willing to crawl on one knee. Maria's kitchen service key fit the lock. The hinge fought me, then opened with a long scrape. Dust and dry insulation brushed my sleeves. Warm metal pressed against my shoulder as I moved through the access space, following the hum of the boiler toward the corridor on the other side. Brandon's voice reached me before I saw him. I have the token and the sealed code, he said. Start the emergency lockout. A second voice came through his laptop speaker. I can suspend local booking access, door management, and user accounts. Historical cloud copies remain untouched. Do it before the new accounts activate, Brandon said. You have until the vendor revokes the key, the technician replied. After that, it becomes useless. What time? 12:01. Brandon swore and muted the call. The loading bay smelled of diesel, wet cardboard, and cold iron. His SUV idled beneath the canopy with the rear door open. A company laptop sat on the passenger seat. The black admin token rested beside it, and the torn PIN envelope lay across the keyboard. I stepped into the bay. You always hated leaving fingerprints, I said. Tonight you brought the whole computer. Brandon spun around. His hand went to the token. How did you get out? I used a door you never learned. He snatched the hardware key and closed his fist around it. Go back to the garage. You are holding company property. It is my company. Then why are you running? The SUV exhaust rolled along the concrete and caught in my throat. Brandon reached for the driver's door. I moved between him and the vehicle. You heard Owen, my son said. The old records are safe. You won. Move. This is not about winning. No, it is about punishing me because I did not spend my life worshiping a hotel. You threatened the paychecks of people who kept this place alive. They are about to own the problem. Let them enjoy it. He lifted the token between 2 fingers. One command, and every booking login dies. Door access freezes. Front desk terminals go dark. Guests leave before breakfast. Refunds hit, reviews spread, and your employee fairy tale starts with a public failure. The provider restores access. After Christmas. After the damage. Brandon's words came faster now. The careful business voice had cracked. Beneath it was the boy who used to kick a door when the answer stayed no. "Give me the laptop," I said. "Give me the closing documents." "They are not here." "Then call Claire and stop it." "No." His hand closed around my shirt front, but he did not strike. The laptop chimed from the car. A message filled the screen. "Emergency lockout awaiting confirmation before 11:58. Brandon released me and reached into his pocket. Evelyn's brass master key flashed under the loading light. He crossed to the side exit, unlocked the old mechanical door, and pulled it open. Cold air rushed in. Maria stood under the canopy in a dark wool coat. Caleb was beside her, hands shoved into his kitchen jacket. Nora held a folder against her chest, and Claire stood one step behind them with her phone raised. More employees waited near the parked cars, silent and close together. Nobody crossed the threshold. Not yet. Brandon stopped with the key still in the lock. Maria looked at the token in his hand. "Put that down. You are trespassing," Brandon said. "At 12:01, I will be part owner," Maria replied. "Until then, I am standing outside." Caleb nodded toward the SUV. "Company laptop, too." Brandon looked from one face to the next. "Dad promised you the lodge?" Claire answered him. "No one was promised anything. They signed a purchase agreement and assumed debt under written terms. You helped him steal my inheritance." "You do not inherit from a living person," Claire said. Maria extended her hand. "Token. Laptop. Brass key." Brandon backed away from the door. For 1 second, I thought he might surrender them. Instead, he slammed the side exit, turned the brass key, and ran toward the interior corridor with the token and laptop pressed against his chest. I followed. His shoes hammered over the loading ramp. Mine slipped once on melted snow, and my shoulder struck the wall. Heat from the boiler corridor caught me as he cut through the kitchen and vanished toward the dining room. The wall clock above the service entrance read 11:54. Inside, voices rose around Lauren. "Open it now," Victor demanded. "You said it proved you owned the lodge," Gavin added. "So prove it." I reached the banquet service door and stopped behind it. The opening was narrow, but I could see the head of the table. Lauren stood beneath the chandelier with the cream envelope in both hands. The torn corner had widened. "It says midnight," Tiffany told her. "It is close enough," Lauren replied. Paper ripped. The sound carried farther than it should have. Lauren pulled out the first page and read silently. Her lips moved once, then flattened. Victor struck the table with 2 fingers. Out loud, she raised the page. "Notice of termination of management authority," Lauren read. "Effective at 12:01 on December 25th. A laugh escaped her. "This is worthless." "Keep reading," Gavin said. Lauren looked toward the service doors, though she could not see me in the shadow. "Raymond has been evaluated for memory problems," she announced. "He cannot make a transfer like this. He cannot even manage a dinner without shutting down the kitchen." The appointment card. She had mocked it before Tiffany's camera, which meant she could not claim she had never known about the evaluation. Lauren turned the page over. "There is no court order. No physician says he can sign." I stepped through the door. Oil streaked one sleeve. Dust from the utility passage clung to my apron, and the scrape on my shoulder had torn the seam. Tiffany's phone swung toward me. Lauren pointed. "Look at him. He has been crawling through equipment rooms. I used the maintenance access you forgot existed." Brandon rushed in from the opposite hall, still carrying the laptop. "Do not listen to him," he said. "He locked us out of accounts and staged this whole thing with employees. Read page 2. I told Lauren. Her thumb stopped at the edge of the paper. "What is on page 2? Victor asked. "Nothing that matters," Lauren said. Brandon dropped the laptop onto a chair and grabbed the pages from her. His eyes moved over the second sheet. Then he tore it in half. Tiffany gasped. Someone near the fireplace shouted for him to stop. Brandon ripped again. Cream paper fell across the roast platter and candle wax. "You just destroyed it," Lauren said, almost smiling. "No," I replied. "You destroyed copies." Brandon looked toward the laptop. The lobby clock began its final minute. 11:59. Claire appeared through the front glass with the employees still outside. Her phone lit in her hand. At midnight, nothing changed. Lauren smiled at the room. "See?" 1 second passed, then another. The minute hand clicked forward. 12:01. Claire's phone chimed. Nora's did too. Through the glass, Nora read the vendor notice, then lifted a new access card to the front door. The lock released with a clean electronic tone. Maria entered first. Caleb followed. Then Nora, Claire, and the employees who had waited outside. Each carried a folder bearing the Silver Mountain logo of the new holding company. Lauren backed away from the table. "Get out of my house," she said. Maria placed her folder beside the torn envelope. "Lauren, step away from our table." Behind her, Nora crossed to the office door and used her new card. The lock opened. Brandon grabbed his management fob and swiped the reader. A red light flashed. He tried again. Red. The brass master key still hung from his other hand, solid and old. But the electronic system no longer knew his name. Maria did not look at Brandon's dead fob. She opened her folder and read from the first page. Effective at 12:01 this morning, the Board of Hawthorne Employee Ownership LLC has accepted management authority over Carlisle Hospitality. Lauren laughed once. "A housekeeper is reading corporate papers at my Christmas table." Maria closed the folder halfway. "I've cleaned enough floors to know who made the mess." No one moved. Nora crossed behind the reception desk with a printed list. One by one, she disabled the old staff cards assigned to Lauren, Brandon, and the contractors they had added. Each confirmation made a quiet tone from the terminal. Caleb walked to the lounge, placed both hands on the bar, and turned the register key. "No more family charges," he said. "Anything opened after midnight gets paid for by the person drinking it." Victor lowered his bourbon. Lauren pointed at Maria. "You have no authority to do any of this." Claire stepped forward, snow still melting along the hem of her coat. "She does." My attorney set a leather case on the table and removed 3 documents, not the thick stack Lauren expected. "The membership transfer agreement was signed before tonight," Claire said. "The buyer's financing, insurance approvals, bank consent, and operating arrangements were completed in advance. The transfer became effective at 12:01. Carlisle Hospitality still owns the lodge. Hawthorne Employee Ownership LLC now owns Carlisle Hospitality." Gavin frowned. "So Raymond sold the company?" "Yes," Claire replied. "To them?" Victor asked. "To an employee-owned holding company." Lauren looked at me. "You gave away a multi-million-dollar property to servants." Maria's chair scraped back. Claire raised one hand. "Nobody received a gift. The purchase includes a seller-financed note, assumed obligations, and capital requirements. Raymond retains a secured payment right, but no management vote." Brandon stared at me. "You kept no control?" "That was the point," I said. His mouth opened, then closed. Lauren grabbed the torn pages from the table. "This is fraud. He isn't competent. Those people manipulated a confused widower and stole his lodge." Claire unlocked her tablet. Dr. Sarah Keene completed an independent capacity assessment on December 2nd. Raymond understood the property, the alternatives, the risks, the financing, and the effect on his estate. She placed the appointment record beside the torn retirement papers. "His engagement letter with my office predates the assessment," Claire continued. "My file also shows months of review, written questions, and 2 proposed structures he rejected before choosing this one." Brandon stepped toward her. "A clinic visit doesn't prove anything." I picked up the page bearing my copied signature. "Then why did you need this?" He looked at the signature but not at me. "If I couldn't understand a sale," I asked, "how could I understand a retirement package that released your company from payroll claims and moved bank authority to you?" Tiffany's phone remained raised. The red recording light reflected in Brandon's wineglass. Lauren answered for him. "It was a protective document." "With a false signature?" Claire asked. Brandon's voice sharpened. "No one has proved it was false." Claire tapped the tablet. A video call opened on the dining room screen. Owen appeared from his office, wearing a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. "I can address that," Owen said. Lauren turned toward the screen. "Who let him into our systems?" "I reviewed preserved business records under written authorization from the owner at the time," Owen replied. "The electronic package was created on Brandon's company laptop, through the lodge network, while Raymond was checked in at Green Mountain Geriatric Clinic." "That only proves the device was used," Brandon said. "Correct," Owen replied. "The hallway archive places you entering the office with that laptop 3 minutes before creation and leaving 7 minutes after transmission." Brandon glanced at Lauren. "Victor saw it." "You made the papers," Victor said. My son lifted both hands. "Lauren asked for a retirement template. I did not sign Dad's name." Lauren stepped away from him. You told me it was clean. That isn't the same thing. It is exactly the same thing. Gavin carried the 3 certificates to Maria and laid them beside her folder. Are any of us listed as owners? He asked. Nora opened a second binder. These are the members of Hawthorne Employee Ownership LLC. Every name belongs to an employee participant or the employee trust. No Hale family member appears. Victor's hand flattened on the table. Then where did our money go? Owen changed the screen. A bank statement filled it, with most numbers covered. Carlisle Hospitality received no certificate payments, he said. The funds shown in the records provided by Victor Hale went to North Star Guest Experience Consulting. Lauren's chin rose. Brandon controlled finance. Brandon turned toward her. North Star is your company. You designed the offering. You approved every sales email. You said the certificates were legal. You said your relatives were too proud to compare them. The room heard that sentence. Owen brought up an email thread. For accuracy, the message from Brandon reads, use the same unit description. Family won't compare notes before the announcement. Victor stood so fast his chair fell backward. Lauren pointed at the screen. He wrote that. He built the template. He sent the payment links. Brandon struck the table with his palm. Because you gave me the buyer list. You chose the prices. You moved the money through North Star. And you took a cut. I covered expenses. With payroll? The words left Lauren before she could pull them back. Maria's eyes moved to me. Caleb stopped beside the bar with one hand on the register drawer. Brandon's face tightened. You told me to use available cash. I said bridge the event costs. You wrote, take it from payroll. Lauren stared at him. Nobody needed Owen to read that email again. A siren did not announce the deputy. Tires crunched outside. Then the front doors opened, and a uniformed man stepped into the lobby with one hand resting near his radio. Someone reported trespassers taking over a business, he said. Lauren hurried toward him. These people forced their way into our lodge. The deputy looked at the employees' wet coats, then at Claire. Who called? I did, Lauren replied. Remove them. Claire handed him a slim packet. Deputy, we are not asking you to decide ownership. These are the management transition notice, the written lodging license for the management suite, and the termination notice effective tonight. He read the first page, then looked around the room. I'm here to keep people safe, the deputy said. I'm not ruling on corporate ownership or evicting anyone from a disputed residence at midnight. Maria nodded. We're asking Lauren and Brandon to leave operational areas. They can take medication, coats, phones, and necessary items. The rest can be collected tomorrow with counsel and a civil standby. The deputy looked at Lauren. Will you do that voluntarily? This is my home, she said. Claire answered carefully. The suite was provided under a written employment lodging license. We can address possession through the proper process. Tonight, nobody needs to test, trespass, or create a confrontation. Brandon looked toward the laptop. The deputy followed his gaze. Whose property is that? Company property, Maria said. My son's fingers closed around the brass key. For several seconds, all I heard was the generator beneath the floor and someone breathing too quickly near the fireplace. Then Brandon placed the laptop on the table. The admin token followed. Next came his management fob. Last, he set down Evelyn's brass master key. The metal struck wood with one clean sound. Maria picked it up. Lauren collected her purse and coat. Brandon asked Nora to retrieve his medication from the suite while the deputy watched from the hall. Nobody touched the rest of their belongings. Owen's voice came from the screen. Before they leave, I have a bank confirmation. Brandon stopped. The beneficiary account ending in 4182 has been identified, Owen said. It is a personal account belonging to Brandon Carlisle. The pending transfer remains on hold. Lauren turned slowly toward her husband. How much? She asked. Brandon said nothing. How much did you take? Owen read the amount, $74,000. Victor came to his feet again. Lauren looked at me as though I had hidden the account from her personally. You knew he was stealing from me too. I placed the payroll email, the audit summary, and the transfer notice in front of my son. I knew both of you were stealing from everyone. A new alert appeared on Owen's screen. The bank fraud unit has referred the records for investigation, he said. They are requesting preservation of the company laptop and all access devices. Claire opened a tamper-evident evidence bag while the deputy photographed the laptop, token, and fob and recorded Brandon's voluntary surrender of company property. He did not reach for handcuffs. At 9 on Christmas morning, Maria placed a 3-page demand on the dining table where Lauren had ordered me to serve her family. The room smelled of cold gravy, candle smoke, and coffee strong enough to cover the sour wine in the carpet. 17 room keys lay in a neat row beside Nora's calculator. Caleb had stacked the empty bourbon bottles near the bar, each one tagged with the time it was open. Lauren returned through the front doors wearing the same black dress. Brandon followed in yesterday's shirt, his cuffs wrinkled and his face gray around the mouth. A deputy had returned for the scheduled civil standby while Nora brought 2 overnight bags and sealed boxes of personal belongings from the management suite. Maria pushed the demand toward Lauren. "This is reimbursement requested for the rooms, food, liquor, displaced bookings, and labor used for your private event," Maria said. "It is not a court judgment. You may send it to your attorney." Lauren glanced at the total and laughed without sound. "You expect me to pay people who stole my business?" Victor reached across the table and took the pages from her. "I am not covering this." Lauren looked at her father. "You brought half the guests." "I bought what you called an ownership interest," Victor replied. "My next check goes to the lawyer getting that money back." The folded black apron still hung from my chair. I removed it, smoothed the rough fabric once, and placed it in front of Lauren. "The kitchen needs cleaning," I said. "But you no longer work here." Brandon looked at me as if he expected the sentence to bend at the end. It did not. Claire spent the rest of Christmas morning sending notices that required the payroll company, point-of-sale vendor, electronic signature service, and email provider to preserve their records. None of those letters froze money. The bank kept its own fraud hold on the 2 transfers while its review continued. The black flash drive Caleb had handed me stayed sealed in a labeled evidence bag. Owen's hashed export remained the working copy, so nobody needed to plug that drive into a lodge computer. Tiffany sat beside Owen with her phone connected to a clean storage drive. She handed him the device, not a downloaded social media clip. "This is the original," Tiffany said. "I did not trim anything." Owen recorded the device information, made a forensic copy, and read the verification code back to Claire. When Tiffany heard Lauren's voice on the copied video saying the certificates were unique, she covered her mouth with both hands. Outside, Victor waited beside his car. He did not apologize for laughing when I knelt on the floor. He only said, "You should have warned me sooner." "You would not have believed me sooner," I replied. His car door shut between us. By January 8th, the Christmas decorations were gone, but the scrape from Lauren's chair remained on the dining room wall. Maria chaired the first full meeting of Hawthorne Employee Ownership LLC beneath that mark. I sat away from the head of the table. Caleb presented the real food costs and the losses from the electrical failure. Nora had called all 6 displaced families herself, refunded them, and offered future stays without pretending the mistake belonged to anyone else. After refunds, Christmas expenses, and initial repair deposits, the available operating reserve stood at roughly $235,000. Because neither disputed transfer had settled, payroll cleared on time. No one cheered. The first seller note payment would not come due for 90 days. Until then, the new owners had to repair the pipe, rebuild winter bookings, answer the wage claims, and keep enough cash for heating fuel. Maria placed Evelyn's red notebook beside the operating agreement. "We own the work now," Maria said. "That includes the debt." Caleb leaned back. "Good. I never trusted gifts." The room gave a tired laugh, then returned to the numbers. In February, the first formal wage and gratuity claims arrived. By spring, current and former employees were seeking about $86,000. 11 relatives filed a civil complaint over roughly $495,000 in certificate payments. They did not become one loving family of victims. Victor blamed Lauren. Diane blamed Brandon. 2 cousins blamed me for letting the party continue. Gavin sent Nora a written apology, then called twice a week asking when he would be repaid. The bank released records through legal process. A court later restricted movement of money in North Star after attorneys presented the transfers, account documents, and payment trail. Claire's Christmas notices had preserved the evidence. They had not created that order. Investigators collected the company laptop, the token, original certificates, bank records, provider logs, and the full email history. Months passed before charges were approved. During that time, Lauren posted photographs implying she had been pushed out by greedy employees. Brandon said nothing publicly. Privately, they blamed each other. In November, their agreements with prosecutors arrived 1 week apart. Lauren claimed Brandon designed every technical step. The records showed North Star belonged to her. She had recruited the relatives, promised profits, chosen prices, and accepted their money. Tiffany's untouched videos supplied her own voice. Brandon said he had followed his wife's instructions. His payroll email, the copied signature package, use of my credentials after written revocation, the message saying family would not compare notes, and the transfer into his personal account said otherwise. Their interstate emails, electronic payment processing, and signature transmissions supported the fraud case. The computer-related charge against Brandon rested on what he did after his authority had been revoked, not merely on the fact that he once served as finance chief. Both chose pleas rather than risk a trial. Lauren surrendered North Star funds and agreed to restitution. Brandon admitted the personal transfer, waived any claim to the held funds, and provided access information. Once the bank resolved the hold, the $74,000 returned to the operating account. His cooperation lowered his exposure. It did not erase his choices. Before sentencing, Brandon's attorney called me. "A short character letter could help the judge understand the better parts of your son," the attorney said. I stood in my cottage kitchen with Evelyn's old coffee mug warming both hands. Through the window, Hawthorne Ridge's roofline rose above the trees. "Will the letter include Maria's missing rent money?" I asked. "That would not be its purpose." "Will it include Caleb's hours or Nora's canceled guests?" "No, Mr. Carlyle. Then it would turn them into scenery." The attorney waited. "I will not write it," I said. In February of the following year, the courthouse hallway smelled of wet wool and floor polish. Lauren received a sentence measured in years, restitution to the employees and certificate buyers, and restrictions on managing other people's money after release. Her mother cried into a folded tissue. Victor stared at the floor. Brandon received less time because the held funds were restored and he cooperated, but he still left through a secured door. Restitution followed him. So did a prohibition against holding any financial role at Hawthorne Ridge. His attorney had asked the judge for mercy. I had not asked for punishment. I had simply stopped interfering with consequences. Outside the courtroom, deputies gave Brandon a moment beside the wall. His hands were restrained in front of him. "I am still your son," Brandon said. The words came out smaller than they had in the lodge. "That was supposed to mean something while I was still your father," I replied. He looked toward the elevator. "Are you ever going to answer me?" A deputy touched his elbow. I did not promise. By March, Hawthorne Ridge had survived its first full winter under employee ownership. The cellar note remained current. All 6 displaced bookings had been restored. The new owners were not rich. 1 pipe still needed replacement. 2 guest rooms remained closed, and Caleb complained about butter prices at every meeting. Maria carried Evelyn's brass key into the board office. She had received it from Brandon on Christmas night. I did not hand it to her again. The small safe opened with a heavy click. Maria placed the key inside beside the operating agreement, then turned the handle until the bolt caught. My phone rang on the desk. A recorded voice announced a paid call from Brandon Carlyle at a correctional facility. His name repeated through the speaker. My thumb rested above accept. Maria said nothing. The screen kept flashing while the safe's metal cooled beneath her hand. Then I pressed decline and set the phone face down. A voicemail notification appeared almost at once. I left it unopened. Maria used her own access card to unlock the inner office door. I stepped through first. Behind us, the safe bolt settled with one final sound. Then the office door locked. When someone in your family uses love as a receipt, you have to look at what they are really asking you to pay. It may begin with a room, a signature, a favor, or one more chance. Then the requests grow. Your time becomes theirs. Your money becomes family money. Your silence becomes permission. By the time you notice the pattern, the people taking from you may already be telling everyone that you are confused, selfish, or too old to make your own decisions. That is why boundaries need more than words. You protect yourself by keeping records, reading every page before you sign, separating personal trust from business access, and asking a lawyer or financial professional to review documents before pressure turns into a deadline. A copied signature, A hidden transfer or missing payroll money is not a family misunderstanding. It is evidence. Save the original messages. Keep account alerts turned on. Do not hand over passwords because someone says it will make life easier. And when a relative insists that everything must happen tonight, before midnight, or before the guests leave, slow the process down. Honest decisions can survive daylight. You also learn that loyalty is not the same as rescue. When you repeatedly protect an adult child from the results of their choices, you may not be saving them. You may be teaching them that your reputation, savings, and relationships are available to cover the next mistake. Love can offer truth, treatment, time, and a lawful path forward. Love does not require you to write a false character letter, erase stolen wages, or blame the person who exposed the damage. Sometimes the most responsible thing you can do is step aside and let the investigation, the court, or the unpaid bill reach the person who created it. The story also asks you to notice who truly keeps a family business alive. A name on a deed matters, but so do the hands that answer the phone, fix the pipe, cook the meal, clean the room, and stay late when everyone else goes home. Respect should not depend on job title or family blood. When workers are treated as disposable, the business becomes weaker long before the accounts show it. Paying people correctly, preserving their tips, listening to maintenance warnings, and giving experienced employees real authority are not acts of charity. They are basic duties. Revenge may feel satisfying in a single dramatic moment, but real justice usually takes longer. Banks review transfers. Lawyers preserve records. Investigators compare emails. Courts take months. Restitution may take years. The lesson is not to create a perfect midnight trap. The lesson is to prepare so carefully that lies cannot survive the morning. Have you ever been pressured by a relative to sign something, surrender money, or stay quiet for the sake of family peace? Did you protect them, confront them, or finally step back? Share what happened, because someone listening may recognize their own situation in your answer and realize that saying no is not betrayal. Sometimes it is the first honest thing left.